Hello, everyone. Thank you for watching my video on writing tips when you write a thesis. Now, let's look at the first issue here called structure. When you write a thesis on applied research, you probably need only 5 chapters, okay? Chapter 1, introduction. Chapter 2, literature review. Chapter 3, methodology. Chapter 4, findings. And Chapter 5, discussion and conclusion. So that would be good enough. Now, but then if you doing a research on product design, which means that you probably develop a module or lessons or curriculum or probably software, or apps, you probably need 6 chapters. In particular, you need a topic on chapter 3 called instructional design process, in which you will explain in detail how do you go about developing the material. Then you come to the theoretical research. You find very seldom people do this research, but if you do, then you probably need only 5 chapters as well. Now, there are other type of research, such as ethnographic study. All right, you probably need more than 5 chapters in which you have to explain further on philosophical thought, by thinkers, by certain philosophers. You probably need a chapter on philosophical thought, which is chapter 3. Let's look at the detail of the structure. First of all, if you look at chapter 1, 2, and 3, usually this is a normal practice. Non-normal practice or abnormal practice is that when you have chapter 4 and 5, looking at the data analysis, but you separate the two, the quantitative data analysis and qualitative data analysis. You separate the two. Then you have discussion in chapter 6 and also conclusion. Now, what is the problem with this structure? First thing first, the presentation of qualitative data analysis simply present data analysis and the result, nothing more. The same thing goes to chapter 5. However, how do readers know when you present your data analysis that are related to specific research question? We don't know. If you have one particular research question, say, for example, research question 3, which require both chapter 4 and 5 to support your argument to answer research question 3, for example. So now you have quantitative data separately from chapter 5. But then you are addressing the same research question. Now, how do you link between the quanti and quali? Well, you may say, I would do the link in the discussion. Now, then it comes to the next problem. Next problem is that the readers, especially your examiners, will have to flip over the pages and try to understand, which data refers to which research question. Here comes the headache. In fact, it's very difficult to understand your argument when you choose this structure. So please avoid this structure. The same thing with this structure, but although you may separate discussion and conclusion, yet the conclusion usually will take only 2 pages long. So it is not proper to have 2 pages of a particular chapter. Simply, you combine the two. Now, the last structure is that you have chapter 4 results and chapter 5 findings. There's an issue here. There are 4 key terms here. Number 1, you have raw data, which you collected. Based on your chapter 3, you do your methodology and you collect data. That is called raw data. Then you analyze your data. Okay, before you do the chapter 5, you would analyze your data. Then this is called data analysis. When you have analyzed data, you would come up with the results. Okay, so result simply tells you the pattern, but there is no finding yet. You come to the findings when you are able to interpret the result, then you come to the findings. Finding, I would say something like you are looking from the top, from the top mountain or from the helicopter view, you see something at the bottom, you see the result, then you do the interpretation. For that matter, it would be good enough to have one chapter on findings, which would include the data analysis and the result together in one chapter, rather than having separate chapters 4 and 5, dividing them into result and finding, because both of them, result and finding, are linked together. So they need to be in one particular chapter. Now, then you have chapter 6 on discussion and conclusion. So then you see this structure is not good, this structure is not good as well, and so is this structure. So you may want to go back and look at the structure before this, which is chapter 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 with specific label. All right, now let's come to the next session called findings. How do you come up with a finding? You look at the results and then you interpret, then you have the finding, and then you discuss the finding in chapter 5. These are the activities that you do before you do chapter 4, all right? So you collect data, you do the coding, key in the data, and then you analyze the data. When you analyze data, you would have in your mind that the data that you are analyzing would give answers, okay, to research question 1, answers to research question 2, and answers to research question 3. Okay, you should have that in mind, right? So say, for example, in chapter 4, you have findings as a table, as a label, then you present your research question 1, and then you support your quantitative data and qualitative data together for your research question 1. And then you move on to research question 2 and research question 3. Say, for example, for your research question 2, you only need quantitative data. Fine. So you simply present the quantitative data for your research question 2. Don't separate quali and quanti. One must support the other. One must complement the other. So that will be in your chapter 4. Looking again at this structure, you may find your chapter on finding, chapter 4, you have introduction and a respondent profile or respondent background. There is a debate on this issue, whether or not we should put the respondent profile or respondent background in chapter 3. Logically, when you prepared your research instrument, you have one instrument probably on demographic, okay, demographic information, and then you distributed the instrument, the questionnaire together with demographic form. Then when you got back, all this form, then you analyze data. So then you got the data. You analyze data, and then when you got the data, you put the data in chapter 4. Why do you want to put the data in chapter 3? When chapter 3 is simply methodology. Then you can present your respondent profile, respondent background, the one that you have collected from the respondent through instrument after you carried out the research. Therefore, you put all the data together in chapter 4 rather than in chapter 3, because chapter 3 has nothing to do with data findings, okay? It's only data collection. All right, then you come to the 4.2, you have one label called findings, and then you present your research question 1, then you support your research question 1 with quantitative data or qualitative data, and show the relationship, and link them, and then put them together as one piece. Don't separate the quantitative data from qualitative data. Let's look at the next structure, which is right here in the middle. Now, this structure is a bit different from here, in which it doesn't have respondent profile. There is a way to put the respondent profile background in this structure, but you embed the respondent profile before you present 4.1.1, which is research question 1. So there's another way of having putting together, the finding from demographics. However, this could be problematic. See, you have the introduction, then you have the results. The results are presented in quantitative format and also qualitative, not referring to any research question. So what happened here is that we don't know where are the findings. The presentation is hanging. We don't know where is it going to. And then the data are defragmented. Data, quanti and quali, they are not intact. They are not together. You can do the quantitative analysis and qualitative analysis for your own consumption, but not to place it into chapters, into the chapter 1, chapter 4, and chapter 5. Okay, simply do your own homework, and then after that, when you present quanti and quali according to the research question. So that would be good enough. This is another example. You present your research question accordingly with the finding. So you have research question one, you put the quanti and quali. One should complement each other, and then you show the link between the two. Okay? Then this is called findings. It's not only result, but also it's more important is the word is finding. Okay, these are the same issue that I just discussed earlier. We come to the end of this presentation. Number one, you present your argument or your claim, and then you provide support. Okay, you analyze the data. You got some pattern of the data as a result, and then you support your claim, your argument by doing illustration. The illustration example evidences can be in the form of tables, figures, and numbers and whatnot. So next one is that you probably do the interview, do document analysis. So then you got the respondent, what we call responses. Okay, so you have a transcript, then you select certain excerpt and put into your data analysis to support your argument for research question 1 or 2 or 3. So make sure you label and quote the respondent. Say, for example, if the respondent is teacher, so you put T1, T2, all right? Teacher 1, teacher 2, or student 1, student 2, S1, S2, and whatnot. Do not use the actual name of the respondent. Even the expert too. You know, you can have EX1, EX2, EX3, which means expert 1, expert 2, expert 3. In your appendix, you probably have those code, you know, X1 refers to Professor so-and-so, X2 refers to Professor so-and-so. That can be placed in appendix, but don't use the actual name inside your thesis. The next thing is that you use direct speech for evidence. Don't use indirect speech. So you see the transcript. If you select, you select the transcript, specific words, you know, word by word, and then put into your chapter 4. But some people, what they did was they convert the direct speech into indirect speech as if they are telling a story. So telling a story is not accepted when you present qualitative data. Okay, so you must give genuine evidence. All right, we come to the final one, quantitative data. You present argument, you support your argument with evidences, example, illustration, you use table or figures, like I said earlier. You present result as the output of the analysis of data. So the analysis of data, the output is called result. Present the result or descriptive analysis, and then you explain. And then you present the argument or claim, and then you provide support. Again, if you have, say, for example, you run the analysis of data on hypothesis testing, and then you found, for example, the hypothesis is rejected or accepted. Then you provide the evidence. What are the evidence? So then you put the numbers to indicate alpha 0.5, indicate whatnot. All right. Finally, you have the test of significance. You present the test of significance as the data analysis, and then you come up with the result, and then you interpret the result to get the findings. All right, so finally, this is what you should ask. I have completed my data collection. Yes. You have analyzed the result. Yes. I've included all results that are relevant to my research. Yes. Don't put everything, just relevant one, you know, to your research question. I have concisely and objectively reported each result, including relevant descriptive statistic and inferential statistic. So you ask yourself whether you have done this. I have stated whether each hypothesis was accepted or rejected. You must say so. Then you provide one sentence to explain why, what does it mean when it's accepted, what does it mean when it is rejected. I have used table and figures to illustrate my result where appropriate. Yes, because these are very important, crucial, you know, to support as evidence and to support your argument. All tables and figures are correctly labeled and referred to in the text. So when you present tables, the label title, or you know, for the table, you put it up above the table, but for figures, you put it at the bottom. Okay, don't mix up. There is no subjective interpretation or speculation on the meaning of the result. This the qualitative, yeah. Unless you have qualitative data, qualitative evidence, then you can support your argument with qualitative, right? These are the common errors perhaps you have to give attention to because sometimes, when you present your chapter 4, you may find that your result um, are presented in isolation and not according to the research question. Findings sometimes do not match with the requirement of the research question. The labels for tables and figures should follow the format given by the university. Numbering sequence not in order, these are common errors that we found in many theses. The cross-reference does not match. Make sure the numbers that you mentioned in the table must match with things that you mentioned in the paragraph and vice versa. This is also common errors when you have a sentence. You say table 4.1 shows blah, 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 blah. The correct way is that you must have one sentence called topic sentence, a preamble. Then you support, okay, with table 1 or table 4.1 or table 4.2 or figures 4.1 and so. So tables and figures and pictures or sketches are evidences used to support the argument. So you must have one statement as your argument, then you present your data. Okay, wrong statistical analysis. This is common. This also happen. Correct analysis but wrongly report. Maybe you have done correctly. The analysis is okay, acceptable, but you report wrongly. So this is another issue. Yeah. Last one, we talk about sentences. Sometimes a student mix up between past tense and present tense. Now, when you have carried out your research, when you report in past tense. But when you explain the table, you report in present tense. I'll give you an example here. Okay, a sample to test was used. So this is past tense, carried out already, to test the hypothesis that higher social distance from environmental problem would reduce. So this is model, would reduce the intent to donate to environmental organization with donation intention as the outcome variable and social distance as the predictor variables. Full stop. Now, social distance was found. So this is past tense found, was found by somebody, but you don't mention the researcher. You say social distance was found. Now, where do you find the present tense? You find it here. This contradict. Now, this contradict actually reflect the whole discussion. So it is this the whole discussion is presented in present tense. Data are in past tense. Okay, then you have this contradict the initial hypothesis that social distance would decrease. Model, donation intention, and in fact, suggest. So suggest cannot be past tense. It's something present. So then you use the present tense. So much of the chapter 4 and all the best with your writing. Thank you very much for following this session and hopefully you will write a good piece of writing of your thesis. All the best.